Now listen here. So this is a picture of a simple muscle twitch and what are the important features that happens in a simple muscle twitch. We will come to that later. Now if you look at a muscle fatigue is defined as a decrease in muscle activity due to repeated stimulus, or that is if you are giving a stimulus to muscle so many times one after another, after some time the response of the muscle will gradually decrease, and this is what we call muscle fatigue, or we say that muscle is getting tired, so it can no longer respond. That kind of situation will come, and that is known by the name muscle fatigue, or in a simple sense we can say muscle get tired, so that it won't be able to respond. What is a normal response? Contraction of the muscle. So muscle response is when a stimulus is getting to a muscle, it is contracting, and that contraction will not be taking place if you are repeating the stimulus so many times one after another. When stimuli are applied repeatedly after some time, muscle does not show any response to the stimulus, and this condition is known by the name muscle fatigue. So basically, muscle fatigue simply means muscle is not able to respond. Muscle is tired. There are a number of reasons for that. One is that normally the muscular contraction is actually controlled by several chemicals are there. And one important chemical is known by the name acetylcholine. Acetylcholine is normally called as a neurotransmitter. Okay, so that so in order for a muscle to respond, that is and imagine this is a muscle, and by a wire we are connecting it. From that wire to this muscle there is a junction there is a gap will be there, and through that gap acetylcholine has to pass through. So what happens is that when body doesn't have enough, when our cell doesn't have enough amount of acetylcholine, this transmission of chemical message will not be taking place, and as a result muscle will not be getting the proper stimulus also, and it is no longer responding or contracting. So this is one of the important reason for the tiredness or fatigue of muscle. Second is that when a muscle is normally contracting, it will be producing an acid, and that acid is known by the name lactic acid, and also another acid known by the name phosphoric acid. So every time, for example, you are walking in a road for some time, maybe after 2-3 kilometers you feel there is a pain in your leg. Why that pain comes? Because in your leg a lot of lactic acid and phosphoric acid will be accumulating. So the body has to remove that lactic acid. So it is the presence of a lot of lactic acid in your muscle that is giving you that leg pain or muscle pain. Okay, so that is a normal way the muscle, because when a muscle is doing some kind of exercise or activity, it is producing lactic acid. So if too much lactic acid is present in your muscle won't be able to respond, or muscle won't be able to contract. So that is the problem in the muscle. So second reason is that accumulation. Accumulation means presence of lactic acid will be increasing in your muscle. And third is that lack of nutrients, because muscle is also a cell. So if you are overworking that cell so many times, repeatedly again and again, what happens is that the muscle will be running short of the basic nutrients like glucose, glycogen, etc. So without these nutrients, muscle will not be able to function also. That is the third reason. Then fatigue is a reversible phenomenon. That is why we call it as a reversible phenomenon, because we can see that after some amount of rest or some time of rest, and we are giving the enough nutrients back, the muscle will be able to recover from it, and it can also again perform the normal functions again. So when we say that muscle fatigue, it is not a permanent situation, it is only a temporary situation that happens because of the shortage of acetylcholine shortage of nutrients, and also because of the presence of lot of lactic acid as well as phosphoric acid. So these are the important reasons for the presence of muscle fatigue. Then we have another situation known by the name rigor mortis, and before that I will show you if there is any picture of muscle. These are all different types of pictures. Okay. We will see if there is any picture. See, here you can see that there is some. See, these are the different type of neurotransmitter. Calcium is also an important neurotransmitter. When there is a shortage of this calcium as well as other neurotransmitter, the muscle will not be able to respond. So this is how normally a muscle fatigue will be normally taking place. Okay, regarding muscle fatigue, that is the only thing that we are able to get. Now another thing is the rigor mortis. Have you seen a rigor mortis, how a dead body is appearing? Because in the case of a dead body, if you ever touch a dead body of a dead person or a dead animal, you can see that the muscles of that person will be very hard. It is not normally like touching our body. It will be very stiff and very rigid, or it look like touching a hard surface or something. The reason for this is that muscles are in a case of contraction. So muscles remain normally in a living person, muscle will be contracting, and after some time muscle will be relaxing again. So that is how a normal living body will be responding. But in a dead person, the muscles are in a state of somewhat partial contraction. And it is because of the partial contraction, in a state of permanent partial contraction, the body of the person will appear quite hard or rigid to touch. And that situation is what we call rigor mortis, the stiffness of the muscle. Stiffness means rigidity or hardness of the muscle and joints. After for example, if a dead person is holding his hand like this, it will be remaining like that. It won't be possible to open it again. If we keep it open it again, it will again go back because muscles are remaining in that contracted situation. And that happens for about several hours. And after some 12 or I think 24 hours, normally what happens is that the bacteria will be decomposing most of the cells. When bacterial decomposition is starting, this rigor mortis will be slowly disappearing and muscle will become so loose and flabby. So that is what is happening in a rigor mortis. So stiffness of the muscle and joint after death is called rigor mortis. It is due to the stoppage of aerobic respiration. What is aerobic respiration? Respiration using oxygen. Because for a dead person, he or she won't be able to take any oxygen. So that what will happen is that the person will not be able to respire and oxygen will not be utilized, and this is the situation so that muscles are in a state of partial contraction. Soon after death, cell membrane is largely permeable to calcium ions. So large number of calcium ions enter muscle fiber and promotes formation of actomyosin complex. Because in the last class I think I have shown you about this actin fiber as well as muscle myosin fiber, and when they are attached with each other, that will be resulting in the formation of a complex known by the name actomyosin. We will see how a rigor mortis is appearing. There is any picture. See, this is one person. See, these are all hands. If the hands are in that situation, it will. This is another lady. I am not enlarging it, and this is another dog. See, so all these cases, the body will be in a state of partial contraction, and that see, this is another person. Very clearly, you can see that. If in whichever, see, this is another case. So in whichever case, the rigor mortis is actually causing a partial contraction, and that partial contraction, because most of the pictures are quite not looking so good, that's why I am not showing too much. So in the case of rigor mortis, what is happening is that what causes a rigor mortis? Okay, there is no, symbol diagrams are available. Okay, so leave it. So in the case of a rigor mortis, normally what happens is that after the death, the cell membrane is become very permeable. Permeable means open. It will be allowing calcium ions to enter into it, and large number of calcium ions will be entering into the muscle cell or muscle cell fiber, and that will be promoting formation of actomyosin complex. I will show you how actomyosin complex will be appearing. See, this is how the actomyosin complex will be appearing. That is, actin and myosin will be sticking with each other. These are all highly technical diagrams which may not be very useful for you. So in the case of actomyosin complex, what we can see, that is actin and myosin will be attaching with each other. This is the actin, this is the myosin, and this is the actin, and both will be, and as a result of that attachment, the muscle will be in a formation. Muscle will be undergoing the formation of a complex which we call as the actomyosin complex. So these are some of the pictures. There is some. Most are highly technical pictures which may not be very useful for you. Okay. Here also you can see this is this picture. See, here also you can see this is the actin fiber, and here also the myosin fiber. There are no good pictures are available. Here also you can see. So what happens is that when a muscle is undergoing this kind of rigor mortis, there will be the formation of actomyosin. That is, actin and myosin will be remaining attached with each other, and that attachment will be resulting in the contraction of the muscle. So in a very simple terms, what happens is that when a person is dying, the cell membrane of the person will be quite open. It will be allowing the entry of calcium ions, and calcium ion has a problem. It will be triggering or causing the formation of actin and myosin complex, and that, or actin and myosin complex means the muscle will be in a situation of what we call contraction. That is, after the death of the person, calcium ions will be entering in the cytoplasm, that will be triggering the muscle contraction. So muscle will be remaining in a state of partial, not complete, in a state of partial contraction, that will give the muscle a rigidity. Normally, for relaxation to take place, muscle needs to drive out calcium, which requires ATP. So here comes the problem. So if after the death, a lot of calcium ions enter into your muscle cell, that will be causing contraction. But for the contraction to be followed by the relaxation, the calcium ions to be pumped out. So that pumping out of calcium ions are not taking place. I will show you. If there is any picture, it will be very clearly showing. Okay. See, this picture I think will be giving you some idea, because this calcium is an important substance, and that calcium is actually helping in the formation of myosin and actin bondage or actin complex. So without calcium, what happens is that unless the calcium is pumped out of the muscle, here you can see that unless the calcium is pumped out of the muscle cell, the actin and myosin will be remaining in a state of attachment. For pumping out of the calcium, we need a lot of ATP, but ATP won't be available after the death of the person. So that is why the muscle is remaining in a state of contraction. Muscle is not undergoing any relaxation. So it is because of the lack of relaxation, the body of the person is appearing rigid or hard, because the body is in a state of complete contraction. Now after 24 hours, normally bacterial decomposition will start developing, and then after some more hours it become more prominent, and it will be gradually loosening our body muscles. So this is what is happening in this rigor mortis. So rigor mortis is useful in determining the time of death, and that is because in forensic science, you may be knowing, that is basically examination of the dead body. The onset of stiffness starts between 10 minutes and 3 hours. So normally with a period of 3 hours, the body of the person can get stiff after death, depending on the condition of the body as well as environmental temperature. So upon different environmental temperature, this rigor mortis may be delaying or coming early. And normally by experience, most of the doctors will be knowing at what time in a country like or in a state like this, rigor mortis is normally developing. So this is the usual time between 10 minutes to 3 hours, rigor mortis can develop. And if the body is active or environmental temperature is high, the rigor mortis can take place more faster or more quickly. The stiffness develops first in the facial muscle, then spreads to other parts. How the rigor mortis is actually happening? It comes first on your face, then it goes to other parts of the body, and usually within a period of 12 to 24 hours, most of the body parts will be in a state of stiffness. So stiffness in muscle joints continue up to 1 day to 3 days. That also depends on the environmental temperature and other factors. And during decomposition, some enzymes are there. These enzymes are known by the name cathepsin and calpains, and they are released from the lysosomes of your cell. Lysosomes you might have heard. Lysosome is a cellular organelle. I will show you. Inside your cell, lysosomes, you have studied about that. Lysosome, a small bag. See, this is the lysosome. This kind of thing is this is a cell. Inside it there will be a bag-like thing, and it is filled with a lot of enzymes. And these enzymes will be releasing, and these two main this enzyme bag will be releasing these two enzymes known by the name cathepsin and calpains, that will be causing a breakdown of actomyosin complex. So rigor mortis is basically due to the formation of actomyosin complex. When this disintegration of actomyosin complex is taking place, the stiffness will be gradually disappearing, and that happens usually after a period of 1 day or 3 days. So that situation is what we call by the name resolution of rigor mortis. Here you can see that that is known as a resolution of rigor mortis. That is, rigor mortis is gradually disappearing. And there is there is a small topic also known by the name oxygen debt. So in case of oxygen debt, because when your muscle is working a lot of lactic acid and phosphoric acid will be produced in your body, especially in your muscle, and that lactic acid has to be converted into some other product. So normally what is happening is that lactic acid is carried by the blood from muscle to the liver, where it is broken down, and oxygen is needed for this purpose. So that is for converting lactic acid into other products like glucose, etc. A lot of oxygen is needed. But if your body is working very fast, for example you are running, and a lot of lactic acid will be produced by your body, that will be taken to the liver, where liver may not be getting enough oxygen for converting this lactic acid into other glucose or other kinds of product. So what happens is that there is a deficiency of oxygen, and that is known by the name oxygen debt. Oxygen debt. So oxygen is in a shortage, and this is known as a deficiency of oxygen, or simply oxygen debt. And this is the reason why our ventilation rate is higher, because after running for several minutes we will be gasping. See, that is an attempt by our body to take more air, so that more oxygen will be coming into your body, and that extra oxygen can be used for converting lactic acid into glucose and other products. So this situation is known by the name oxygen debt. So oxygen debt happens when your muscle is overworking. If muscle is overworking, it is producing more amount of oxygen, more amount of lactic acid, and this lactic acid has to be converted into glucose and other products. So this is how the oxygen debt will be taking place. So these are the topics that we have to study today.